Political news and some breaking news this morning. Governor Kemp giving a clear signal about how he's viewing that big Supreme Court decision this week on the Voting Rights Act. And he's basically saying, yeah, this is opening up the door for Georgia to redraw its maps. He says that decision restores fairness to our redistricting process and allows states to pass electoral maps that reflect the will of the voters, not the will of federal judges. The governor goes on to say that voting is already underway for the 2026 elections, but it's clear that this decision requires Georgia to adopt new electoral maps, but he says that's not going to happen until around the time of the 2028 election cycle. So yes, Governor Kemp signaling that Georgia's going to redraw its maps, but not this year. It'll be in time for 2028. And by the way, he won't be governor at that point. Let's get more now from 11 Alive's Doug Richards talking about how really the viewpoints to this Supreme Court decision varies by political party.
Georgia Democrats woke up in the political equivalent of a cold sweat following Wednesday's Supreme Court ruling.
He has basically blessed partisan gerrymandering, which is just awful.
Former state senator Jen Jordan said what many Democrats were saying. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito had written a ruling that overturns much of the U.S. Voting Rights Act.
They don't even have to protect minority voting rights anymore.
Jordan is running for a seat on the state Supreme Court. Former Republican State Senate leader John Kennedy praised the court's ruling, calling it a victory for common sense and a long overdue win for every southern state forced to bend the knee to federal courts on redistricting. He's running for lieutenant governor.
Well, they're certainly all clamoring to have a special session, and they're saying it out loud. They're saying, redraw these districts.
Former lieutenant governor and former Republican Jeff Duncan says his former party has been upfront about wanting to draw districts that favor the GOP, and this ruling empowers them to do it even more than they already have.
At an overall political level, we're a swing state. But when you look down at the district level, the maps have been rigged so that they pretty much eliminated competition. Could they do more? I'm sure it's possible to do more.
Though they might like to try, Georgia Republicans are highly unlikely to be able to change their maps between now and November's election. 2028, however, is a whole different matter. At the Capitol, Doug Richards, 11 Alive News.